attention, pay attention to me.
Good morning. Welcome to our quarter 3 in EPP 6. Today, we will be talking about managing family resources. At the end of this module, you will be able to classify things into human, material, non-material resources. List down sources of family income. Explain the importance of meeting or having basic and social needs, and appreciate the importance of living a life within a family resources. Are you ready? Before you is a picture of a family. I want you to describe the family. You may write your description on a piece of paper or on your module. I will be giving you 10 seconds to describe them. Your 10 seconds starts now. Time's up. Now, you may have written a lot of descriptions about this family on the piece of paper or on your module. You might say that this family is wealthy. You may describe them as a family who is having a feast or a happy family. Some of you may also describe them as a complete family. And you are all right. Families need resources to attain or reach their goals and dreams in life. These resources have to be managed well and effectively for them to have a happy and comfortable life. The family's ability to cope with illnesses depends also on their resources. The members of the family should cooperate with each other to make sure that their income is allocated wisely in buying all their basic needs. Every member should know how to budget and determine what things are necessary and what is important. Although a family may have a complete resources, the family should always know how to manage their resources. If resources of the family is unmanaged, then we will have a big problem that will cause chaos to the family. That's why this morning we will be talking about family resource management. We will talk about how we can manage our resources, how we can save money, and how we can learn how to spend wisely. Let us start first by defining resources. If you will be given a chance to define resources, what would it be? Again, I will give you 10 seconds to give your own definition of resources. You may write it on a piece of paper or on the module that you have. Your 10-second starts now. Time is up. Now let us see if you are able to define resources correctly. You try to think of your definition as we discuss resources. So by definition, A resource or resources is defined as a stock or supply of money, materials, stuff, and other assets that can be drawn on by a person or organization in order to function effectively. So when we talk about resources, it refers to your stock or supply of money. How much money do you have? Do you have a lot of money? Are you rich? Or even the materials that you have. What are the possessions that you have in your home? Or staff. Staff refers to the persons that is helping you, especially when you have business. And other assets, such as properties. This supply of money, material, stuff, and other assets can help an organization or a person function effectively. Meaning to say, without the resources, a family, a person, an organization will not effectively function, or they will not effectively perform their role in our community. So in order to understand the resources that we need to first look at the family. Family should have their own basic needs. Basic needs refers to the things needed by the family to stay alive. So without these basic needs, your family could not survive. Here are the examples of the family's basic need. So the first basic need of the family, these are the things that they need to survive, is food, water, and of course, oxygen. So these are the things that they need to have first, the food, the water, and the oxygen. As humans, of course, a family needs food, water, and oxygen for their human bodies to keep functioning well. So they need this one in order for them to move and to function well. The second basic needs that a family should have are clothing and shelter. A family needs clothing and shelter to protect themselves from the rain, heat, and cold, and other unfavorable conditions brought about by the environment. A family needs to be warm. They need to have shelter in case there are storms, in case bad weather comes, they have their own shelter. So the next thing that they need is, of course, clothing and shelter. And the last basic needs that they need is safety and security. A family should live in a place and within a community where they can feel safe and secure. You know, if a family lives in a secure environment or a place, then they could have freedom to function well. Look at the people that are living in areas where conflicts between military and militant group are happening. Everything is affected. So we need to meet these basic needs. Again, their basic needs are food, water, oxygen, clothing, and shelter. And of course, they need to have safety and security. So always remember that these basic needs are necessary for the survival of your family. Aside from the basic needs, the family have also social needs. Social needs refers to one's need for love, acceptance, appreciation, trust, and a sense of belongingness. These needs having met by social interaction with other people. That is why a family has a social and moral obligation, such as attending events of people they know and being present in the family and social affairs. Social activities help family members live in harmony with each other and with the people around them. You know, we need to have social interaction. There is a saying that goes, no man is an island. In order for a family to survive, it needs to interact. It needs to socialize. Any organisms that do not know how to interact and socialize will not survive. So we need to have a relationship with each other, intimacy, belongingness, so that we can function in a society. Aside from meeting the basic and social needs of the family, we also need to understand what are other family resources that we have. When we speak of family resources, these are things that a family possesses or have that can be used to achieve their goals. The resources are also used whenever a family faces some problems at home. So family resources, in short, are the things that a family have that could help them whenever they face problems, whenever they have goals that they need to reach. So we will discuss what are those family resources. And let's try to find out if you, if you have also these resources. Let us discuss human resource. Human resource is composed of people, skills and knowledge, and of course, the attitude. People. This refers to the family members, friends, and relatives. Now, this resource is very important because, as we know, Filipino families are closely woven with each other. Some of us have nuclear families, although some people may have extended families. But as we consider, or as we talked about during your previous years, that the family is the basic unit of the society. So having a good family relationship, having a strong relationship with your family would help you achieve your goals. And sometimes, when we have problems, we run to our relatives, even to our brothers, our sisters, our mothers. And no matter how difficult the situation is, at the end of the day, our family will always be there for us. We also have our skills and knowledge. We can use this in achieving our different goals. Like if we know how to think of a business, if you want to prosper, if you want to have a good business, if you have a mind of an entrepreneur, then you can create a business that would help your family. And of course, your attitude, which is very important. In human resource, attitude plays a big part because this allows you to relate with other members and even other people in the community um, in a way that they would understand you. Attitude is very important. If you show kindness, then kindness will be shown to you. If you are being kind, your kindness will be being paid forward to another person, and that kindness will return to you as a blessing. So, attitude. You don't need to be snobbish. You don't need to be like you are on the highest position. You need to be humble. So that is human resource. Are your material resources. This refers to your food, house, community facilities, and clothing. Food, this is where we eat or consume to be healthy and strong. Our house, of course, is where we live. Our community facilities are the places where we go for leisure, meaning we go maybe to a park or other resorts that we would like to spend our time with. And of course, our clothing that makes us warm. It doesn't matter what brand of clothes that you have. The important thing is that your basic needs is being met by this resource. Resources refer to non-material resources. This involves money, time, your power or electricity. Money, this is what we need to buy our needs and our wants. Without money, we could not anymore buy the things that we want, whether that would be needs or wants. Later on, we will be discussing the difference between the needs and the wants. The time, this is a minute, hour, lifetime that we use in doing things. So time is very important. Time is gold. We should not waste our time. That is why in the Greek mythology, they have portrayed time as a person who is bald with a hair in front of his head. So that it would be hard for you to grasp time because the person runs fast. So we need to manage our resources, especially in time. Let us not be late in coming to our class. Let us not be late in passing our modules. We should not be late. We should always consider time. Power or electricity. This provides us electricity for our different appliances. We also have learned maybe in our science class before that we need to conserve electricity. And we need to turn off the lights when we are not using them. We need to plug off appliances. We need to conserve everything because if we keep on using these resources, eventually they will all be depleted. So those are the family resources.
Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention to me. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention to me. To me.
Are you still there? Okay, let's go to the next topic. This is the Maslow's hierarchy of need. The Maslow's hierarchy of needs presents the need that each individual or family should accomplish, starting from the very basic up to the highest point. Now, this is why the person is climbing because he needs to reach the top. So let us discuss first now the Maslow's hierarchy of needs or the needs of individual or families in order for them to survive. This is just the review. So to start with, a family can survive if they are met on their physiological level. Meaning to say they have food, shelter, clothing, and they can enjoy life. The next level is the safety and security. As you said, a family should be secured in a place so that they can function very well. If they feel that they are secured, then they are not afraid of functioning as a individual or as a group. And of course, we need to have love and belongingness. In order for us to survive in the community, we need to feel that we belong in our community. Just like you, when you are in your family, you are there in your family because you feel that you are loved and you are being understood. If we are able to meet rather these three levels, then we can proceed to the fourth level, which is esteem. Meaning to say, when you speak of esteem, you are assured, you are confident of yourself. You are not afraid anymore to take on challenges. The family is not afraid to venture on new activities. And if they do that, then they will have self actualization, meaning to say that they are contented of what they have. They do not need to look for other things. So this is the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need to go through each level in order to reach the upper level. But the important thing is that we need to have physiological safety, love, and belongingness, and the rest will follow. Like many organizations, a family needs money in order to answer the needs of its members. Hence, the family does things to earn. So sometimes, when a family will try to survive, it needs also money. Although we have different resources, we have our basic needs, our social needs, and other resources that have been mentioned earlier, but the family also need money to survive. So we will be discussing the sources of family income. Have you ever asked your parents where does their money comes from? Or why are they having a lot of money? Or sometimes when you ask for something, why is it that they have the money already for your needs? So let us try to look at the sources of our family's income. The first source of the family income, it may come from the wages and salary. Now, what is a salary or a wage? A salary is the money we receive in exchange of our work or services we have rendered. It can be received in a daily, weekly, or monthly basis. So when we talk about salary, it is the payment of our endeavors, of our work. When you are working, you are being paid, just like your parents. Some of them are working in an office. Some of them are working maybe as a policeman, teacher, a nurse, a doctor. They are given salary. Now, this wages or salary is able to help the family survive. The other source is, of course, your investment. Investment is a way wherein one's money is the pawn of doing the work for him or her. Additional family income can come from buying a property, having it for rent, putting money in interest-bearing accounts, and joining stock markets and mutual funds. So when we speak of investments, these are the sources of the family's income that comes from other properties. Say, for example, if you have a lot of money, or if you have rather a lot or a big property, then your parents may decide to have that property be rented by other people. Say, for example, if you have a rice field that is too big, your parents could say that if someone is interested in renting half of the rice field, I will be allowing you to rent that one. So that is another source of income. Or sometimes your parents would go into stock markets. They would invest a lot of money, and at a certain period of time, this money will grow and they can get the money that they've earned. And also, if you have, say, for example, apartments, that is another source of income. That is your investment. You earn money, you buy properties, and you let that property produce money also. So that is investment. The other thing is retirement. Retirement is the maximum number of years to work. Upon reaching 60 or 65 years old, a certain amount will be given to us on a monthly basis. It depends on the previous work, company, and length of service to the company. So retirement. When a person retires, say for example, the person is too old. In the Philippines, we give retirement at around age 65. Meaning to say, when you're 65 years old, you could not work anymore. You are given an option to retire. Now, when you retire, that doesn't mean that you don't have anything to do. Your company will give you compensation on the number of years that you have worked. Say, for example, a teacher has been working at his or her profession for almost 50 years will be given a money equivalent to what is the length of her service. So it depends upon the company. Now, when you have that money, that is another source of investment. That is why most of the retired people would venture into business using the retirement money. And another source of income is, of course, the government assistance. We are so glad that our government is helping us. A family can qualify for government assistance if they fall under a certain line. It means that income of the family is too small to meet the basic needs. So there are criteria in which a family could gain or could have government assistance. One criteria is that they belong to the poorest of the poor, meaning to say they are not able to supply their basic needs. Remember, during this pandemic, there was what they call the SAP or the SAP, that is the assistance given to those who were locked down and those family who have lost their job or who could not be provided with their basic needs. So there are criteria that had been given. So these are the sources of income. Again, it may come from wages and salary. It may come from investment. It may come from a retirement, or it can come from your government assistance. Though we have resources that is being provided to us, we also need to take care of those resources. Look at this picture. What is wrong in this picture? Can you identify some things that are not good in this picture? Very good. This picture shows a family who is not being careful in using their resources. Now, they just eat whatever they want to eat, and of course, they are feasting too much. So, why is it necessary for this family to have a budget? Because we will be talking today about family budget. Why is it important that a family should budget their resources? Very good. So that it would not be depleted and they could use other resources. That is a very good answer. Now, let us try to look at our family budget. Just like you, when your mom gave you 100 pesos, what are the things that you're buying with your 100 pesos? Do you buy things that are essential, things that are important, or you buy things because you have seen someone using a gadget or a new dress, a new shoes, and you want to follow them? So we will try to look at our family budget. Where does the money goes when our parents earn money, when they have their income, their salary, their wages, the product of their investments, or maybe the retirement money that they receive, or the government assistance that they receive. Where is it going? So we'll try to look at our family budget. Family budget, in short, is wise spending or a wise plan of spending your income. When someone receives a money, they need to think what to buy. They just don't go out to the market and buy things. They need to make sure that every needs of the family or an individual is being met. It is also true with your parents. When they receive their salary, they will not go out and eat in lavish restaurants, but they will sit down and try to think what are the things that you need. A budget is a spending plan or schedule, while budgeting is the allocation in the family income to different expenses. So when we talk about budget, it is the plan on how you will spend the money. But budgeting is where you allocate or where you try to understand where the money should be placed in relation to the different expenses of the family. Comprises the family budget. When your mom and your dad starts to talk and they said, we are going to budget our money so that we could at least meet the needs of our children. So we'll try to look at what are the components, what composes the budget in the family, so that you will understand and that you will know how your parents are trying hard to have their money fit your needs. One thing that your parents allocate their budget is food. This is where the biggest part of the family budget goes, since health and life of the members of the family depend on it. You know, the first thing that your parents are thinking when they receive the money is how they can provide food, because food is very important. If you will not eat, you will get sick. And if you will get sick, there will be a lot of expenses. So food has been given the highest component or the highest part when it comes to budgeting. Everything just goes second. The first one that they should consider is the food. What are you going to eat for that whole month? The next one, of course, is housing. It includes house rental or monthly amortization, tax, and property insurance. If you are living in an apartment or if you are renting a house, the next thing that your parents would consider is housing. So they will say this is the monthly. uh, this is the monthly payment of the house. So we should keep this one. Say, for example, if you are um, renting a house that costs 3,000 pesos a month, when the salary comes, the 3,000 pesos is already kept for your housing. So that is a part of your family budget. The other one, of course, is education. It includes tuition fees, books, and other school needs. Children studying in public or private schools needs daily allowance aside from their transportation fee. Private schools demand for tuition fees, books, uniforms, school supplies, and projects. Allowance and miscellaneous fees should also be considered as a part of educational expenses. Another component of your budget is education. Your parents wanted you to be learned. They wanted you to grow in knowledge. So they are sending you to the school. Some of your parents are sending you to the best school that they could think of. Like you, for example, you are being sent to Philomer because they believe that Philomer can give you the right education. Now, when they start to think about your education, they have to place that on a budget. So, what are the things that they need to consider? They need to consider your allowance. But now it's very good because you don't need an allowance because you are staying at home. But still, they are buying your snacks, right? The other thing also is that they need to think about other fees, such as your projects, the things that you will buy, and other are for tuitions, the one that you pay in order for you to continue your schooling. And of course, you have the books, the uniforms, and the school supplies that you need. So these are the things that are being carefully thought of your parents when they make a budget. They will not be sending you in schools without any allowance, without any books, or you are not having the right uniform, or you don't have supplies, school supplies that you need in order to finish your study. So education is also a part or a component of your family budget. The other one is the operating expenses. When we talk about operating expenses, they are expenses running in the household, such as payments for electricity, water, telephone, internet, cable subscription, and salary of household helpers. Updated payments will mean continuous service and enjoyment. Another component of your budget, of course, is the operating expenses. When we talk about operating expenses, these are the expenses that are being utilized in our house, such as, of course, your electricity, your water bills, uh, and of course, your telephone, your internet, your cable subscription, and even the salary of your household helpers or your kasambahay. So your parents need to budget this one. They need to know what is the amount of electric bill that you are paying every month, the water bill, the internet bill, and of course maybe the telephone bills or the other bills that you have. Mostly these bills fluctuate, meaning to say they move from month to month. Maybe this time you will have a little amount of payment for your water bills, but the other month it will be bigger. So that is why we also need to conserve. That is why we're always reminded to turn off the faucet when we're not using it, to turn off the electricity, the electric fan, plug off the television when you are not using it. Make sure that you are all having the same plan of saving electricity and water so that the bills will not go and your parents will not be having difficulties in adjusting their family budget. The other thing is the medical and dental care. The family budget should be flexible enough to include emergencies. Hospitalization of family members needs a portion of the budget for medications and payment for hospital bills or dental expenses. Now, this part of the budget or this component of the budget is a little bit difficult because you could not predict when someone in the family will need medical or dental care. Sometimes you get sick, and sometimes the family or our parents is having difficulties of finding money because our budget is too tight. We only allocate a little amount of money for the medical and dental care. So that is why I said this is the most difficult part of your components of the budget, because we could not predict who will get sick and who will not get sick. When or where, we do not know. That is why we need to keep ourselves healthy. We need to eat foods that would sustain our health so that the expenses for medical and dental care will be lessened. The other one are your uh, miscellaneous expenses. Miscellaneous expenses are expenses such as gifts, recreation, contributions, and tithes and offering to the church. So miscellaneous expenses are expenses that are not really a part of the budget per se. So we are not including that in a budget because sometimes, you go to a park, you want to enjoy, or sometimes you want to give a gift to someone, especially if your mother is having her birthday, your father is having his birthday, your siblings, your cousins, your relatives. These are miscellaneous expenses. We need to also consider this one in the components of your budget. So we need to put a little money on this one. But if you can, the best way to do this one so that your parents would not be having difficulty on this component is that you try to save. You try to save a little amount of money every day, and then when a special occasion would come up, you have the money to buy gifts or to the money to treat someone, in a place where you would like to treat them. So miscellaneous expenses. And of course, we need to have a budget for our savings. This is the amount set aside for future use, as in buying needed appliances and furniture, social plans, and family emergencies. So savings is a part of your components of the budget. We need to have this part because these are emergencies, emergency money. These are set aside if any emergencies would occur. That is not a part of the component of the budget. So say for example, if someone in the family gets sick and you don't have enough budget for medical and dental care, then you can get the savings. That is why sometimes, we get mad, we get sad when our parents would not give us the things we want. But our parents are really trying to save so that someday when we need the money, when you need the money, they will have the money to provide for you. So let us just be a little bit patient. Let us not be sad, be angry if we're asking for something and our parents would not give us because they are trying their best to have their budget. Next is clothing. Who among you here loves to wear beautiful clothes? I think everybody loves to wear beautiful clothes, but clothing is also a component of the family budget. This is the amount set aside for buying clothes for family members. So your parents actually is not neglecting you. They are including you on the budget with this clothing. So as you may notice, if there are new dresses that appears on the market, your parents would buy you one because they know that you are doing great. That is your reward, but that is still a part of your budget. But we need to think also if the clothes is too expensive and our parents could not afford our clothes or the clothes, we need not to get sad. Sometimes what we're doing is that when our parents would not bring us or give us or buy us the clothes, we would shut ourselves inside our rooms and we will not eat, And when our parents calls us, we will not listen. But we need to understand that there are things that are more important than clothing. The most important thing in clothing is that you are being warmed by it and you are not being harmed by your environment. So clothing. And of course, the last one is transportation allowance. This is very important. It includes the transportation allowance of working members. Transportation allowance does not only mean that someone is having a public transportation, riding on a jeep, riding on a minibus, or riding on a bus going somewhere else. Transportation expenses includes even when you're having your own vehicle. When you have your own car, your own motorcycle, you need to include that on your components because that is very important. Now, without gas, you could not go to your work. Without gas on your vehicle, your parents could not send you to school. Without gas, your parents could not go to their work, and eventually they don't have any salary, wages, and the family would suffer. So these are the components of your budget. Now, this is just a graph of the component of our budget, of our family budget, and the pie chart is being divided into percentage, having food as the one who receives the biggest chunk in the budget because this is on the most important part, the basic needs. You need to have food in order for the organization to survive. So to look at the components, again, we have food, housing, education, operating expenses, medical and dental care, miscellaneous expenses, savings, clothing, and transportation. So why do you think we need to prepare a budget? Why do you think we need to understand the components of making a budget? You might say, sir, I'm just a little kid. I'm just in grade 6. Why are you teaching me this topic? Now, I am teaching you this topic because I want you to know that your family is really working hard to have all the salary and the wages fit in. So sometimes, as I told you before, you need not to resent if what you're asking for is not being given. If you would look at the pie chart, you will see that every aspect or every needs of the family is being budgeted. So there are times that you might have or you will not receive the things that you want. But when you try to look at it, you will say that, that is good because at least I have food, or at least I have um, money for medical and dental care. So it's very important to understand that the budget of the family is the one that is dictating whether the family could survive or not. Do you understand that? Very good. Now, since we are talking about budget, let me try to talk to you. Do you have your own budget? Do you know how to make your own budget? Because the bigger things are just placed on our parents. So say for example, your mom and your dad will give you 1,000 pesos for the whole month. How would you spend that 1,000 pesos? What are the things that you think are very important to you? And what are the things that you think you don't need and you don't want to buy? So this is what we call making a personal budget. We should always be careful in considering the variety of factors that is required when budgeting. We should always look at the things, uh, other things that could affect our budget. So let us look at the different factors that may affect the way we make our budget. So the first one that we need to consider is expenses. Why do we need to understand our expenses? Why is it important that expenses should be included in our budget? Expenses refer to the way our family spend or you spend in a month. You need to list down specific items that you and your family buys or pays for and the price of it. So when you create a budget, say for example, if your parents are going to give you that allowance, 1,000 pesos, you need to list down your expenses. What are you buying every day? And how much that does it cost? Say for example, you are buying chocolate. So how much is chocolate? It's maybe 50 pesos. So for 1 month, how many chocolates are you eating? So you need to write that down. Or if you are buying shakes, how much is a shake priced at? So maybe you would say it's around 25. So how many times in a week do you eat or do you drink shakes? So you need to write it down. That is your expenses. You need to keep track of the things that you buy in a month or the things that you are paying for so that you can make a clear budget. The other thing is, of course, income. So income, since you are still young, you do not have a fixed income. You are not working yet unless you are a very young entrepreneur. But let us go back to the original situation, the situation that you are having right now. On your part, income is the money that is being given to you. So when you talk about income, you try to look at how much are you spending on the money that is given to you. Let's go back to the 1,000 pesos. How much money or how much of 1,000 can you spend in a month? Maybe some of you may say, I can spend it all. Or maybe some of you may say, I can only spend 500 pesos. Or the other would say, I can only spend 250 pesos. You try to look at the income. Try to look at how much do you spend when the money is given to you. So if you are spending the whole 1,000 pesos in a month, meaning to say you spend a lot. There are so many things that you're buying. If you are spending half of it, maybe sometimes you want to buy but you keep hold. And when you say that you are spending 1/4 of it, then probably you are really thinking of the things that you're going to buy. And that is good. Because sometimes it's good that we have a little bit of money in us so that later on, when we start to look at the things or something bad happens, we still have money to buy. And the other thing that we need to consider is your spending habits. Who would like, or who among you here is fond of spending money, especially when you're given a lot of money? Last December, I think you have a lot of money. So who spends a lot of money here? And you don't care whether those things are good or not. You just want to spend your money. Spending habits are your habits of determining your wants and your needs. So when we talk about spending habits, Are we buying things that we want, or are we buying things that we need? Look at that picture. It's a balance scale, whether what the person is buying is the want or the need. When we talk about needs, this refers to the things that are required for health and safety. Examples are food, water, and shelter. Fixed expenses falls under this category. So when we look at our spending habits and talk about needs, these are the things that are required in order for you to survive, in order for you to live. Without these things, a family, an organization, an individual would die. So of course, you know what are your needs? What do you need? What are the things that you need to have in order for you to survive? Those are your needs. The other one is the want or the wants. Wants are things that are not necessary for survival or are brought about for comfort and personal interest. This includes expensive pieces of jewelry, gadgets, luxury cars, and designer clothes. So, wants are the things that are not really necessary for our survival. These are the things that we do not need. If we don't have these things, we can still survive. Like, for example, what was given, like pieces of jewelry. I think you can survive without that expensive piece of jewelry on your body. You did not, or you should not buy, rather, you should not buy jewelries that are very, very expensive so that you can show it off with your friends. Or maybe having gadgets. Of course, gadgets now are very important. But you see, you need to understand what would you like to use or what is the use of that gadget. If your gadget is for online class, you need not to buy iPhone Pro Max 12 that costs around 100,000 or buy a laptop that costs around 100,000 when your gadget is sufficient enough to do your work. Or having luxury cars, you don't need to have that big, beautiful cars in order for you to go to places. And even designer clothes, people right now, it's so sad to see that people right now would not wear clothes that are locally made. They would always prefer clothes that are made by other companies outside the country. So we need to be proud. We need to, of course, lift our, our identity as Filipinos, that we need to share to the world the good things and the wonderful things that our designers are using. So once, these are not necessary. You can live without it if you choose not to live without it. So remember your spending habits. You really need to understand what is your need and what is your want so that you can create a good budget, a personal budget. At the last part of your module, there are ways uh, that, or suggestion of the ways in which your allowance could be budgeted wisely. I want you to go through to these steps. It's only 5. I want you to, 6 rather. These are 6 steps that I want you to read and understand. What are the things that you need to follow in order for you to have a successful way of budgeting your allowance? And that ends our lesson for today. I hope everybody was able to understand, was able to comprehend the things that we need to understand. If you need to review this lecture, you can download it or you can search it on YouTube. and then play it again, play it over and over until you are able to understand. For our activity output for this activity or for this lesson, I want you to make a list of your budget. Consider the things that we've talked about this afternoon. I want you to create a budget out of the lesson that we have. And I want you to submit that on your Schoology account. On the output folder, I will be placing there another folder that is intended for this lesson only. So, thank you very much and have a wonderful day to everyone.
Make more time.
This is your Sir Francis saying, God bless everyone.